Thank you, Clerk Moss, and welcome everyone to the Thursday, August 14th, 2024 Board Roundtable. This is Chair Catherine Harrington. I'm joined by a full complement of board members, Commissioner Jerry Willey, Commissioner Pam Treese, also Vice Chair, Commissioner Nafisa Faye, and Commissioner Jason Snyder. We have a pretty full agenda today, so let's dive in. I don't think I have any informational updates this morning, but there is a bunch of information for us to make sure that we're baselined on. So I want to express my thanks to all of you for ensuring that our staff assistants and board clerk have our summer vacation and out of office plans, because it really helps ensure that our workflow goes smoothly. So here we are. I'm looking at the rolling agenda, and we have a couple more remaining board days here in August. And when Ms. Angie is out during our August 26th set of meetings, Marnie Kyle will be filling in. She's already shared with us. So I'm looking over to September now. And did anyone have any questions or comments on August? I'm going to be going over some further information as we go through some of this information about the sequencing of planning information. You heard me mention this at the CWS work session day of July 18th as we were focused on CWS. So I've got my Washington County hat firmly on my head right now. So I'll be going over some information today. I haven't brought all of the information forward in written information, but I wanted to bring some things to your attention. Then I see us moving forward with the roundtable on September 4th, where hopefully we'll have even more information fleshed out, more conversations. So, you know, that expression of sometimes planning information gets messier before it gets clearer. And then from there, we'll go to the August 2nd roundtable. But we have an awful lot going on, irrespective of that. We have 4 board meeting days in September with some pretty significant information items that we'll be moving forward with. Commissioner Willey will be out the last 2 Tuesdays, which means that staff's follow-up as coordinated by a staff assistant will be greatly appreciated, so that October you're in the know versus that we're I don't want us to be dragging you along, is my point.
I will be here for the 2nd and the 9th.
Yes, sir.
I depart on the 16th, so I will not be here on the 16th.
Yep. So the 16th and the 23rd.
Correct.
Yep. Yep. And you'll let us know if there are any committee meetings that we need to cover for you.
Right. I will do that.
Okay. Terrific. I'll go over the roundtable plan separately. Then we're into the month of October. On September, I'll note under September 23rd on the last page of September, Commissioner Willey will be at WEFTEC. So too will Commissioner Snyder. I don't see it on mine.
Yeah.
In the blue on September.
Oh, no, I do. I have Commissioner Willie at WEFTEC.
Yes, that's what I'm mentioning. Commissioner Snyder's also
I see.
going. Yep. Commissioner Fye has decided not to attend. Then in October, in addition to the meetings you see listed here, we have the CWS work session day on October 10th as well. So we're expecting to have all 5 directors in all those meetings. Then on October 28th, Ms. Angie will be at the ICMA conference, so one of the ACAs will be covering that meeting. I also want to make sure to bring your attention to the AOC District 8 meeting date changed. It's now Wednesday, October 8th. I have no further information than you do from the information that Sarah sent from AOC. But I also want to highlight the annual housing forum. Board attendance has dropped off on the annual housing forum. You know, as we know from well, certainly 2019, 2020 kind of went haywire with COVID, but that was a forum of our now multiple committees dealing with affordable housing and homelessness. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because there are always great topics, great speakers, and a lot of really good partner attendance.
I had just seen, I think, an invite or that
Yeah.
indicated
Well, the
somewhere.
date.
Remind me what if you have it in front of you, the date?
October 30th,
On my calendar.
which if Tuesday's the 28th, that must be Thursday?
Yep.
Thank you, Kevin. I usually write both things down here for myself. Then I also want to highlight for you, and no, nothing is on our calendars yet from what I see. But according to the CAT progress report for the Beaverton Recovery Center, renovation is expecting to wrap up by the end of September, keeping us on track for a mid-November opening. That opening will be very exciting for us. So I wanted to mention, I haven't seen any calendar hold information, but as far as November goes, we have a full roundtable day on Thursday the 6th, a full CWS work session day on Friday the 7th. The week of November 10th looks pretty open, though don't forget we have Veterans Day on Tuesday, 11/11. And then the following week is affected by the AOC conference. So, and then we run into Thanksgiving week. So I'm not quite sure what staff is planning.
Are you,
The hold we have on CAT is October 24th.
Before it opens?
It says ribbon cutting ceremony, October 24th
Oh,
to 12.
well, thank you for making sure I have that noted. I'll put it under other meetings because that's pretty significant.
Yep, that's biggie.
What day of the week is that?
Friday?
Friday. Yep. And it doesn't say hold on mine. It's just
There.
there. So
Terrific. Thanks for correcting. I appreciate that. This is
And-
how we get through things together.
And I'd like to point out that, yes, Commissioner Willie's mentioned that, but we both got a text from Maida at the same time, who's watching, who told.
Oh,
24th.
yes.
So,
thank you, Meta.
Small.
Meta for
there.
participating.
Pam's just jealous I beat
like-
her to the punch.
I like how Commissioner Willie just presented it.
yeah, like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
watch it. Be careful, Jason. Okay, which side you choose.
So there are a couple other things I just want to mention because I forgot to do it while we were looking at the rolling agenda. Particularly because this takes some of our, not just our board time, but our often political attention on and energy. If we go back to August 26th, we have the museum options discussion.
Yep.
So just wanted to make sure that was on your radar because we may or may not get some fresh constituent communication on that.
While we're on August 26th, I just want to raise this as a question. The levy presentations are supposed to be at Beaverton, but we have an evening meeting, and I just don't know how that's going to be covered.
Same date.
Yeah,
Well, all we need is a quorum of 3.
Okay.
For the meeting. So,
26th.
yeah,
Just want to
So,
call that out.
I think what you're talking about is for the evening meeting. So, figure it out and let us know. And that'll be great. Yep. Terrific. Then you can see we have a couple of SHS things in August, including the one-time funding recommendation for the current fiscal year. With Mr. Barnett on board, he's been coming up to speed very quickly. And as he mentioned on Tuesday, with Jacqueline Sato's retirement, coverage may be a little bit of a challenge for all the topics that are going on. And we've also gotten some updates from Metro staff, not from the council. At some point, I would like us to have a conversation about how we wish to perhaps take some more affirmative action and request perhaps either a joint meeting between the Board of Commissioners and the full Metro Council, or at least our various Metro councilors whose districts touch Washington County, which is a fair number of them. It's more than just the president and Juan Carlos Gonzalez and Garrett Rosenthal. So I just wanted to put that out there so we can perhaps shift the conversation from counties as contractors to counties as partners. And then lastly, just looking ahead, things requiring our attention, we also have the I've come to the phrase of the federal tumultuous times, right? The evolution of change and just making sure we catch up with ourselves. And that may just be explicitly on our roundtable agendas, just taking a breath and helping one another catch up with the impact of change. I don't know what you think about that.
I think we live it.
There's a lot.
And we're all human. And so, okay. Let me integrate in some federal catch-up, or Ms. Angie and I'll talk about a useful label so we know what we're hoping to accomplish. Let me see my other tags. I took care of that. Okay. That. All righty. Roundtable planning. There's a wee bit of yellow. I'm on the page that focuses on the second half. So we don't really need to go over August 14th at this point. We have the agenda. Looking forward to September, we do have the meeting. I'm correct with the 5th, right? It is the 5th.
The 4th.
Oh,
5th is the Friday.
okay. Thank you. I'll correct my date. Um, uh, then we're going to really get going on taking the conversation of today, where we're reflecting on our process for the fiscal 26 proposed budget, and shifting some of our focus over to the supplemental budget, as we have a supplemental budget 3 times a year. Then we're going to go over the BCC annual business plan in a moment. And then also review some rules of procedure. So you can see that, oh, that's under CWS, excuse me. I don't know how to get rid of that green thing. I hope it's not annoying anybody. But then October, November, December, we have our normal October, November, December roundtable sequencing as we move towards closing out the end of the calendar year and set up for a new fiscal year. I mean, a new calendar year, excuse me. So, our county council, Mr. Barnett, also has his thinking cap on with regard to trainings that would be useful to us as a board of commissioners between now and the end of the year, as well as some other topics that he would like to bring forward to us as well.
Are we in trouble?
Not at all. But if there are specific trainings that you are interested in, please reach out to me directly.
Or to have as this 2025 Board of Commissions as a common experience. You'll see the addition on November 6th, going over the chart of accounts. This is part of what it's a good annual practice. So we're going to review it in November because we need to make sure we take action in January, which sort of segues over to the business cycle. One thing builds on another. So any questions on that and on the roundtable stuff? No? Okay.
In reflection, and Nafisa, excuse me, Maida sent another text just reminding us that the special session is over and we may have issues that come out from there as well.
Yeah, that's usually handled through the rolling agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the annual business timeline. And I'm going to start with page 2 of 2 for the second half of the year. See, all except Jason. And I can't remember when you started early this year, if I shared the old version with you, Jason, or not. I don't think so.
I don't either.
But we haven't,
I looked at this one.
we haven't used this in quite some time. The latter part of 2022, could you go to page 2, please, on the screen? There we go. The last time we used this was October of 2022 to start setting up 2023. But what we found at that time, you may recall also in October, is when I brought in what I call the big kahuna planning sheet that had our budget season, state ledge season, new commission seasons, all the different focus areas. And then we whittled that down to taking out many of those annual cycles and just focusing on what the big issues are. Well, this steps back a little bit because there are some new things that have been coming in from outside that demand our attention, as well as often the intensity of some of our annual cycles. So if you were to pull out or compare this one to the October 2022 one, there's much more content on this one. So I'm just going to start by walking through July through December, and please kick in with questions as we go. So I'm going to start at the top in July, annual admin policy review. And this item comes from, remember that ERP work session that we had on July 25th. So this is something that will move forward into future years. And I realize that we're in August already, but I figured to cover all the months. So the other notable changes, I want to highlight that from our board meeting on July 7th, 2025, we have the list of land use ordinances. So the black line that you see underneath the months, you've got the detail there. But the reason that I mentioned this, our staff does a really good job of scheduling this stuff through the rolling agenda. But sometimes we forget about the constituent interactions and engagement. So that's why I want to highlight for you the July 7th, 2025 staff report for the final 25-27 planning work program, page 11 of 11. So be on the lookout for yourselves. Obviously, the Washington County Fair has occurred. I also added to, well, we had one of the blue lines already with the Affordable Housing Bond Program, new home groundbreakings and openings. The groundbreakings are done. It's the openings mostly. We've also had the Hawk Rehab stuff to celebrate. SHS program milestones continue. But the new line items are the TBD, continued Metro SHS uncertainty. And we don't have any set milestones there, but that's continuing to be an outside force to contend with. And then through 2026, continued org culture evolution training and federal updates. So that purple line is new as well. So I'm going to start moving from July through August. I'm coming back up to the top. September, I added in the supplemental budgets. So we've got the supplemental budget, one of three, usually comes in the September-ish timeframe after the fiscal year adoption. But it may come in sometime between September, October. So these are all just approximate. We'll touch bases on town halls later. Then we have the District 8 meeting.
Now in October.
Yeah, so now we're coming into October. We've got, you'll see at the top in the purple, the annual review for our county administrator. That's due by mid-December. We have for our new county council, he started in June, so we've got the 6-month review. And as I go down, we have that annual joint Washington County Housing Authority and Housing Advisory Council and the Homeless Solutions Council meeting on October 24th. Great. Let's see, any other highlights? There's the annual AOC, next board planning. Oh, I also added in the quarterly CWS board work session day 4 in this version. So you'll see it in November. Did we have the barbecue with CWAC this year? No? Okay. Thank you for reminding me. So this is irrespective. Oh, don't forget we have the sheriff annual briefing and the annual jail tour. So this year we'll get to see how the new courtroom was accommodated in the law enforcement center, how things have gone with construction, because there are different things going on there. So I don't know that that's been scheduled yet, but we usually have it somewhere October, November. Sometimes it has changed in other times of the year, but you know, it's one of those things the board is required to do by the state. We have to sign a sheet, so it's not an optional thing. So there's a lot here for just sort of standard business without honing in on focus items, right? Those major projects that are either board driven or management driven that need our attention and political capital. So yeah, it's a busy second half. Happy to go over one of two, shaping up and looking into the new year. So one thing that's different is the county council. We changed with the new contract, having the annual review due by the end of March. So that's a change. So what we have, instead of having both directs reviews due in December, we have one due the end of December, another due the end of Q1, and then usually the CWS CEO the end of Q2. So a more reasonable cadence for us. Then you'll note that the supplemental budgets are added in. I mentioned that from the prior page. Oh, that first line I need to correct. That's wrong. That was super copy. The CWS board work session days are added. And at the bottom of the page, the added lines that I mentioned earlier. Any other thoughts? Okay. All righty. Just a helpful tool for helping us keep moving in a common direction and look ahead over the year. Then the other thing I wanted to touch on is, as I mentioned, with the roundtable agenda or the roundtable plan, I've been looking back at that focus list, and you know, when I think about what we had for the focus list at the beginning of the year, it has changed. We've had some pretty significant outside forces influencing our work here in 2025. We have the changes, the continued evolution from Metro on SHS uncertainty. Part of that financial because of the updated forecast. We also know, according to forecasts, given the new federal tax cut, Oregon's personal and business income tax is tied to the federal income tax. So the state economist has already forecasted that there will be a hit in this current biennium budget to that. That has an impact on SHS revenue collections, which is a second major adjustment to SHS revenues since, right, the first one was the new revenue forecast in November, December of last year. I'm anticipating a second one. It hasn't come up through the oversight committees yet, nor do I think it's come up through the finance committee. So we'll see. We do know that the corrections facility planning work, as we went over in the Tuesday work session, specifically the Jail Community Corrections Center, will be establishing a new plan of record there for that project timeline. So that'll affect our focus list. We've also added in pursuit of the additional revenue option exploration. I don't think that was on our focus list back in January. So we have a few things to catch up on, right? Then for myself, oh, sorry, I mentioned there were two major outside things, one affecting SHS, but the other is just the steady stream of federal changes with this new administration, and those will continue. So that isn't accommodated in our focus list either, but we know it takes time and energy from the board. It takes time and energy from our staff. So that's why I think it would be good to capture that. And I don't know about you, but the other thing that I did to try to checkpoint, the middle of the year with the adoption of the current fiscal year budget is I went back and reread the whole budget summary, including the table for the budget reduction summary and the eliminated positions. And there's a lot there. We did consciously say no to things, but as that proposed budget summarized, we still have headwinds ahead, and now we have some majorly impactful, excuse me, federal headwinds. So I think we're going to have to, or I'm suggesting that at our September and our October roundtables, that we take a breath and check in and see how do we accommodate that that workload through our board focus list as we do this work together with staff and start preparing ourselves for brainstorming what we might actually need to provide for guiding principles and priorities for making hard decisions, right? Setting that direction for hard decisions for the next budget year. I think I'd like to thank all of you as colleagues for ensuring that we provided sound direction to Ms. Angie for the problem solving that staff did to frame up the proposed 25 budget. I think we're going to have to provide, for lack of a better phrase, some harsher direction. I'm going to have to get comfortable with saying, no, we can't do X, Y, or Z that are actually mandated. Because,
That is the world that I think we're headed into.
yeah,
You know, another thing that as we talk through this and think about what's going to be happening with the federal impacts, for me, I think I'd like to be able to understand where the impacts are coming from. And so as we look at the budget, be able to develop a narrative around this is the amount of federal loss and these are the decisions we have to make. This is the state. I think our property tax will most likely stay pretty steady.
mhm.
You know, that's not going to be the variable. The variables are going to be outside of our control. And we haven't really talked in our budgeting process about, you certainly do a great job of providing the revenue sources, but we don't talk about the differentials between year on year about those sources.
This is where I also feel like we should be starting to use that tool that if you all haven't already, I will admit I haven't dug into it more, but we had that very comprehensive sort of list of what's mandated and required and where the funding is coming from, et cetera. Like that tool, I hope we put it to good use as we're working through that. Because there was a lot of work, a lot of staff work put into that.
I agree with you. And I guess I'm talking about even before that, what are the
External forces
Yep.
and
pushing on those things.
yeah. And I think it'll be helpful as we move forward with our narrative. After, you know, I'm reflecting on Monday night at in Tualatin and what the questions were about our budget and how we make decisions. I think, and Tanya, I'm not sure if that's going to create a workload issue that's insurmountable, but I think it'll be helpful for everybody.
So we are planning next month as part of your roundtable, there will be a fiscal focus. We will talk about what the roundtable sequence coming up will be relative to budget. With the budget forecast, we are anticipating of bringing in the state and federal. We're focused right now on federal, but the cuts that the state is anticipating is $2 billion over the next 2 years, just from reduction in taxes. Plus, with the Medicaid like we're going to have compounding, so that will need to be taken in account for our forecast. Our forecast is specifically focused on the general fund. I do also just want to highlight we do not have funding sources to back up if we lose federal or state funds. And we don't know when that could happen throughout even this current fiscal year.
That's a question that's coming up continuously in the community is what are you doing to what kind of planning are we doing to backfill? I think the messaging around that we have to get in front of too.
And that's my point. It's the narrative that I think we need to be comfortable.
Yep. So some general talking points. I think most of us are very clear. Costs continue to rise. Incoming federal and state revenues are falling off. And we have no resources to backfill our own needs in serving the community, let alone anybody else. There's zero to help CBOs, small businesses, local jurisdictions. Are we all clear on that? Are we all clear on that? What does that mean?
Processing. Processing, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's a fact.
Lisa, what are we looking at for backfill? I envisioned a grader pushing down the road with no gravel in front of it. So the holes aren't going to get filled.
No,
Yep.
it's gonna get very uncomfortable
Yeah.
Yep.
It is
quickly.
and very difficult.
Absolutely.
But again, the degree to which we're aware, or we can talk about what the issues are.
Proactively communicate.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that that's really, really important because we're not alone in feeling this. There's no question about that. But the degree to which we communicate, I think is going to be really important.
And also talk about our service suite. And we have services from birth to death, specific services from birth to death. And then we have other county services which people relate to at various times of their lives in terms of age, but also by circumstance and their needs. So it's quite a change. So what I thought I would do is take the focus list, our previous focus list, and update that and bring it into the September roundtable. Does that make sense?
I'd like to review the list that you talked about too.
Yeah, so would I.
The-
I need to
It's not
get
just
every-
a list, it's a whole tool.
I thank you. And this is the tool that Marnie
Yes.
worked on. And
Mhm.
you're absolutely right that that's the key to what's mandated.
Yeah. I mean, that work was done and it was done robustly and we should use it.
And I need,
But we also have to figure out how to, for lack of a better term, memorialize that status at any one time. So if it means even PDFing
Well,
the
it won't-
status,
it won't be, like, that was one of their points is like, things are constantly
it's
evolving.
evolving.
That was a point in
we need
time.
a snapshot,
And it helps inform us, but it doesn't mean it's 100% accurate
right?
every.
So we can take the prior snapshot.
Yeah.
Right.
But we still have to have a view, a snapshot from a specific date. And so we're not asking that it be changed at all, but just take that snapshot.
And I appreciate that because if you were asking that, I would say we
No.
don't have resources.
Right.
We're not asking that.
Yep, I don't hear
I'd
that.
put my
from
foot
anyone.
down.
So I'll put that down. The other thing I wondered about, we went over this annual business timeline. I haven't heard anybody mention any major things that I caught. I did catch a couple of corrections, so I'll just bring the final version back and we can call it done.
Okay.
I learned, and I'll touch on this afternoon when we're focusing on CWS, but as a result of starting my office hours at Central, CWS Central, CWS IT set me up with what's called the SharePoint, which is the combination, it's sort of like Wizard, but also Horizons on the Washington County side. And there's an annual business cycle there. It's not specifically board focused, it's organization focused. So that's something that would be, I think, useful to just go over with us at the October board work session day, I think. So,
Sort of orient us to that.
yeah,
How to use it.
yeah, they're different. I just discovered it this week and must have been Wednesday and yesterday morning, and tried to print it so I could look at it more deeply and sit back. But it didn't work out very well. So anyway, the printing did. So I know for myself, a couple of different times I tried to take stock of what's ahead of me, and I have a couple of different versions of that, and I'm still working on that for myself. I think we need to have some discussion time as we go over that information that you've all highlighted here, both the focus list, the mandated required snapshot. We've already got time under budget, and just really catch up with ourselves on where we're at and ahead. So that's all I had. So we're about 15 minutes ahead. Do any of you have any other planning things on your brain? Okay, terrific. Well then,
Can I make just a couple
of
just
course,
announcements? A
yes.
couple items that happened yesterday. So yesterday there was a medical incident in the lobby on the first floor of this building during business hours that involved our Department of Assessment and Taxation. I just want to give staff a huge shout out. Staff responded promptly to the community member in urgent need. They quickly recognized the individual needs, called 911, and began administering life-saving CPR. What is most striking was their unwavering calmness through this whole situation, a clear sign of their ability to handle emergencies, and which I always think of A&T as they are just calm and steady, and they just continue to move work, and in this case, helping a community member.
How is the community?
They relied on their emergency training and handled the incident professionally and gracefully. Medical personnel were able to arrive quickly and handle ongoing needs of the community member. The teamwork displayed by many department staff and the commitment of other community members who were witnessing was a true testament of community in this case. Also, yesterday in the PSB on second floor of our Human Resources and Finance wing, there was a community member in need of services from county or other entities. This individual is experiencing homelessness. One of our risk staff was quickly and promptly just helped this individual connect with resources. And then we had called other staff to step in and help get this person to the services they needed. But that incident I was able to witness myself and just really appreciated the professional and also just human-centered approach the staff member had taken with community. I will also just note that staff, and I appreciate the conversation on the budget, I am seeing the staff, I'll just say the strain of the continued reductions over time. Because we have, yes, this was a challenging budget year, but let's not forget there's been 5 years of continuous budget cuts. And we are getting to the point that we need to continue to provide services to the community, and there's core infrastructure to do that within the county, and that occurs through our internal services. Alex and I and ACAs have been talking about some of these areas, and more information will come forward to you because we have to keep running as a county government during these challenging times, and we need to make sure that staff are taking the time off that they need and take care of themselves for their own well-being. And so more to come on this, but I do want to just lift this up because it's really, we are in challenging times because we have more and more community needs. Our community partners are seeing reduction in funds. We know the state, we're seeing the impacts on county services. So I appreciate your prior discussion, and we just need to continue to have that with an open conversation with community as well. So there's shared understanding.
Yep. And I think I want to acknowledge the idea that, or the need that Commissioner Vice Chair Treese mentioned on having some common communication tools such as talking points, because it is detrimental if all five of us are. It is far better for our community if the five of us are using similar messaging versus divergent messaging. It is too detrimental to our community.
Confused.
Yes. And unlike the emergency shock we had with COVID, there were resources then with CRF and then ARPA. That is the most recent, not just public health crisis, but also economic crisis. And prior economic crises, recessions, for example, whether it's the Great Recession or a normal recession, haven't always come with financial assistance, right? Under President Obama, there was a program, but our state was not as equipped as others to take advantage with shovel-ready projects. This recession, it's not a recession, sorry, we're too early for that. But with these changes, with these federal tax cuts and the cascading effect, we don't have the resources to help soften the blows. And it's going to be very, I'll finish my sentence. It's going to be very hard for us as a county government. But I'll also speak individually that seeing the strain on our workforces for both agencies, but particularly for Washington County, you don't often hear me talking out of feelings. They happen, right? Because I'm human. But I'm having a difficult time seeing the strain. And the only additional ways that I know to help are to point out the good work that staff does every single day and to redouble my efforts to be clear about communicating, doing less with less, even when it's hard. So, yeah.
Is there anywhere, maybe I missed it, but a while back we had a presentation of revenue options.
Yeah, that's coming back to us.
Where is that coming back to us on our
It
schedule?
was mentioned earlier.
October.
Okay.
I have to.
Okay, as long as it's on the docket someplace.
October 7th.
Perfect, thank you.
See the time certain one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's got acronyms, GRO and RTFO.
I should have known.
But I think the point here is that that's a key piece as we move forward. It's not going to, we'll be working on looking at what our revenue options are, but at the same time, we're in a lag situation.
Yep.
And that's where I want to make sure that we are prepared for that lag, even if we come up when we come up with some new revenue options to employ, we're going to be behind.
We're already behind.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All righty. Well, at
On
this
that
point,
happy note,
do we want to take a break now or finish up with the next two items? Well, I don't know. What would you like to do? Because the break can come in anytime.
I'd say one or two more items and then
Okay.
break.
Great, let's do that.
Definitely a break though before the reflections on the budget.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. So we'll move over to State of the County Draft Plan. And this is where our two comms experts will be coming up. Sarah Sagan and Philip Bransford.
Morning, board.
Morning.
We are your humble servants here to enable The annual State of the County presentation. So I'm not sure, Chair, if you wanted to begin the conversation with your board
Oh,
colleagues or.
Certainly happy to kick it off. So, as you know, we have a State of the County address each year. This year, we chose to delay it somewhat into the second half of the year versus the first half of the year because of all the adjustments, right? Our course corrections with our own proposed budget, federal changes, workload needs. So I had a planning conversation with Philip and Sarah, and really also looking at what's on the board's plate over these next couple of months. So they framed up a proposal where I also reflected on different styles of state of the city addresses. And as I mentioned previously, I was really impressed with both the energy level and the community positive reaction to the most recent City of Forest Grove State of the City address, where the mayor served as continuity framing, but also somewhat the MC of the topics, and each of the city councilors highlighted different topic areas. So we talked about that before, and for the three of us that have been on the board for a while, we know we've tried different formats. But given what's on our plate, in our conversation, we talked about how can we make sure that you are present and before our community, because we do this work together as one board and the community sees us as one board, but also do it in a way that is comfortable and as lightweight as we can make it for each of you. So hence the proposal that was in your packet. Did all of you have a chance to review it? Okay, so if you could just take it from here and highlight the format, your goals, and there are 3 specific asks that I will be doing sweep on. Okay? Take it away. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. So the State of the County is currently scheduled for October 9th. Our tentative plan is similar in previous years to have Chair Harrington provide the main address, but as she stated, we really wanted to find a way to incorporate all of the commissioners in this particular address. So given the difficulty of schedules, our tentative plan was to schedule 1 to 2 minute short videos with each of you in front of a different facility or location that represents either a service delivery, an accomplishment, or something that is particularly meaningful to each of you. We've included some suggested topics, everything from libraries to the treatment facilities to the Tigard Affordable Housing complex that recently opened. Our ask is that you would share your preferred topics or locations with us by next Tuesday, August 19th. And then staff will begin to coordinate the schedules for video filming, talking points, and such.
So, doing sweep. First, do you commit to the approach?
Yes.
The approach being October 9th, pick a topic,
19th.
9th.
It says 19th right here.
9 on this one.
August 19th is when we are asking for you
That's
to share
great.
your topics with us.
August 19th is.
Got it.
The approach is
video.
pick us all participating. doing-
Can I'm speaking, please. Could we
She's
wait?
trying
so
to
I-
summarize.
yeah.
Got it.
So the 9th, pick a topic and of one of these locations.
No, the State of the County will actually occur on Thursday, October 9th.
No, Yeah.
That's
can-
the
Can
approach.
we hold off for a second so I can process what I'm trying to articulate here instead of just jumping in? Just wait your turns, please.
You seem to
I'm
have
having
the
a
summary
conversation
wrong.
with
That's
the
what I'm
staff.
picking up on.
Yeah, but can you wait, Chair? You keep interrupting, and Commissioner Snyder here too as well. So just wait your turns, please. So I can process this with the staff. What I'm trying to get at is the areas, the topics of choosing the list that was listed. I'm interested in the others. What other ideas did you have in to pick from?
What I had understood in working with them is these bullets are their ideas
Mhm.
and others is for your individual ideas for each of the four of you.
So we would work with you, Sarah and Philip and Tanya, to identify what those others is, and then work from there.
And
So you have my yeah. So you have my commitment to send an email to try to organize that.
so we'll be checkpointing this in board communication next Tuesday, the 19th. And that's the second request, that in board
Mm.
communication, you need to commit to two of these areas, either two as listed or two others.
Mhm.
And we need to come to closure in board communications next Tuesday on what the coverage topic list will be.
Yeah, I mean, we can all read. I saw that in there to try to decide. So you have my commitment to try to figure out the list when I saw, and obviously you were in the room listening to the conversation around what's happening federally, what's happening to the community, and some of the challenges that are coming up for our community members and for the county as a county to serve the community. And when I saw this list, to me, I'll be honest with you, and they seem tone deaf to me. So that's why I'm really interested in trying to figure out how do we really present a holistic, uh, something that will resonate with the community, that we're paying attention, and that we're here because local government is here for the community. And we, this county existed long before us and will be here long after us. What matters is how we help the community. So that's why I wanted to start off the conversation about the others is, I'm interested in that, and look forward to future.
Can you give some examples? I mean,
You know, what topics are missing that make it feel tone deaf? Just so we have a better sense.
I'm not here to educate you all, but I think what I saw to me sound the list I looked at it, they're great lists, something to celebrate our county. But what's happening and the conversation that unfolded, that's how the conclusion I came up with to myself. So for myself, I'll leave it at that, and everyone to make their own interpretations and come up with their own conclusions. But I'm definitely interested in how we present something that will resonate with the community, especially for my 1 to 2 minutes.
So that means you don't agree with the approach that,
That's your interpretation. I didn't say that.
excuse me,
Here.
you just scolded us on interrupting you.
But I was still speaking and you're responding to me.
No, it was clear to me that you were done making your response.
That's your assumption.
Well, then why don't we wait
Okay.
until you tell us that you're done?
Thank you for listening. I'm done now. You may speak now, Chair.
It's clear to me that you don't support the approach of talking about what the county government does. Am I understanding you? Because what I'm hearing from you is you want to talk about the geography of Washington County and the context of the geography of Washington County in national events.
Would you like me to respond?
What is with the hostility?
I'm not being I'm responding to you. I'm asking you so that you don't say I'm interrupting. I'm being respectful to you, Chair.
It doesn't
Um,
feel that way, Commissioner
Well,
Fye, at
that's
all.
your feelings, but I'm being respectful.
Your
with my
style of
tone.
dialogue is not actually dialoguing.
What am I using? Scorching words? Scorching earth words? What are we doing here? I want to respond to the chair because I think that's a really good question, right? Like, am I agreeing? So what I am expressing as one commissioner is here the projects or topics choosing for consideration. Improvements made to the courthouse is one. Libraries is another that's listed. Tigard Affordable Housing Complex is another. CAT, both the Beaverton location and the Hillsborough location is listed. Harkinson House is also listed. Hawthorne Walk-in Center is listed. Road to Timber is also listed. Hag Lake is listed. And then there's an option of the last that says others, question mark. I'm expressing interest, not that there's anything wrong with the list. I'm expressing interest to dialogue with you all to say, is there an opportunity to really dive into that others? Because I'm interested in that. So that's what I've expressed. Not necessarily that the list is bad or the list is not something I agree with. These are all improvements in projects that we all invested time and that we celebrate. Our GRT team and ourselves as a board worked really hard to get these fundings, to put in these efforts and projects, work with our community members. These are all great investment for the community. I do not disagree. I'm expressing what are the options for me to pick? And it sounds to me that I'm clear on the mandates here. How do we move forward? So I think every commissioner should express, rather than responding to Nafis Fye, should express what they're or reacting to Nafis Fye is really to just pick on what they would like to do. But you have my commitment to get back to you what I think, and you'll have my response by the date you listed in the document to have a response for me. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Fye.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Could you provide that information before the 19th so we have an opportunity to see what it is and process that rather than react on the fly?
No, you do not get that because in the document it says that we ask that commissioners select their video topics of choice by Tuesday, August 19th. So
But
you'll get that.
that's from the list we're asking.
No, there's others.
I know, and if you're going to provide others, I'd like to have an opportunity to see them before the 19th.
I can't guarantee you'll get the 19th, but you have my full commitment, Commissioner Willie, to get it by the 19th.
Commissioner Willie, I heard you earlier note that earlier in the conversation, the board conversation, that someone expressed that this proposed approach and list was tone deaf. Do you understand what that was all about? Because I don't.
Well, I can come to my own conclusions, but that's why I was asking for the information in advance so I can understand what about me is tone deaf in this list. But I don't think that was necessarily it. I think Commissioner Fye has some other ideas that she'd like to present, and so
That's great.
she has that option to do that. So we'll talk about it on the 19th.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
So we've gone over the two asks. I've heard that all 5 members agree to the approach, that you've heard and support the request for getting your topics ready for our discussion during board communication on Tuesday the 19th, and we'll allow for additional board communication time for that. and enumerate it on the work session agenda. Then the third ask is, as you see here, that video recording will be taking place the week of August 25th and wrap up on September 12th. Do you all support that?
Thumbs up for me.
I could make a request to do mine earlier, because obviously when I go into September, I disappear. So August is best window. So thank you.
And I'd like
And
to
we'll-
do mine a little later, so maybe that'll balance here.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about what, I haven't completely decided which one of my options I'm gonna choose, but, have a couple of ideas on, particularly like Hag Lake, you know, that's kind of a biggie in my district, so.
Sure, I have a couple. When you have,
Yeah, that's fine.
just reflecting on the whole conversation we've had over the last 10 or 15 minutes, and I certainly want to apologize for my brief interruption attempting to clarify things, and I appreciate the feedback, Commissioner Fye. I'm concerned, this is an example of a dynamic or a situation that I see starting to happen fairly frequently in some of our conversations, and while this is a pretty straightforward topic, it's very concerning to me that we're not, at least from my perspective, my assessment of the situation is that in many of these, we're not working as a board of five. Because to me, we're supposed to be working on these topics collaboratively, for example. And I too am not clear on what the feedback means. I mean, I know what the words tone deaf mean, but it's not at all clear to me what should be on the list that isn't. And if I don't even have a general idea of that, we may be able to come up with a much better list that might be more, instead of picking from this list, we may change our entire approach if we have that conversation now and not have the conversation on the morning of August 19th of just saying, I want X or this, or I want to do Y. I just am really, that this is an example or a symptom, I think, of work that is not happening in the way that I'm used to doing it in a collaborative fashion in an elected role. And I'm calling that out because I'm concerned about it. And I think there's multiple dynamics that are at play that may be causing that, but I would ask all of my colleagues to work towards trying to work collaboratively and, of course, respectfully with each other. So that's my ask. With that said, I also am unclear on what the Tigard Affordable Housing Complex means. If it's referencing the Just Compassion Center, that is not an affordable housing complex. So I don't know if it's referring to that or one of the many housing projects or more than one of them. I just am unclear on what's actually meant by that. But since it's in my district and I had a lot to do with those, what was thought about? Or what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean,
As it's written.
yeah, I think it would be an opportunity to highlight, for example, the use of the regional bond measure funding.
Okay, throughout the
Sure.
whole area.
So we can pick,
That's what you were thinking.
yeah.
So the word complex means like a bunch of projects, not
Yeah.
just one.
It's the notion, because these are going to be very short videos, we're going to, the idea was to have commissioners stand in front of a county-related
Okay,
facility of some sort and speak to how there's great services being provided to the community through this facility and through the employees that help operate it. And then we would do 4 of those back, and we'd edit them to be this island in the middle of the presentation. So the chair would introduce, hey, I'm going to turn to my board colleagues, and they're going to talk about the wonderful things that are happening in our community that the county's providing every day with help from the staff. And then you would see these very quick videos of each
so
of
you didn't have a particular project in mind.
Well, we did brainstorm and come up with this short list, thinking about the different geographies.
I'm meaning the specific.
Oh, in terms of, yes, we would be
Yes,
open to
that's what-
your thoughts.
That's why in our brainstorming meeting, they came to the word complex.
Okay.
Because
Just
as you're
Sort of
observing,
ambiguous.
there are multiple that do exist.
So-
Wood Spring,
Yeah,
all, blah, blah, blah. So it's the complex of them, but using one physical location to highlight all the progress.
so I will just reiterate, stepping back again, that I would appreciate the opportunity of the entire board to reevaluate if there's concern about this really missing the mark. I would want to hear at least a high level description of that now so that we could consider whether we should be pivoting that. To me, that's the work that the board should be doing on this topic.
If I can speak here for a moment, thank you, Commissioner Snyder, for your comments. And I think that what we maybe didn't do to start out that might help define what others is to talk about the theme. And the fact that the theme here is listed, it's all about serving people. So if we talk, I think we need to
All
make
about
sure,
county government serving people.
I'm just reading what's on this paper right now.
No, but the unsaid part is
Is
county government.
Yes. So I think that if we need to make sure that we are all consistently and collaboratively in agreement about what the theme is. Because that will help determine what any other additional things might be. And does it fit under that umbrella? So that's where I would ask, and I'm stepping in.
She proposed a question. Are you thumbs up on the theme?
Yeah.
I
That's
am.
fine,
Are,
yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Fye?
I'm thinking.
We'll wait.
No, you don't have to wait. Go. I can come back. I
No,
will look
today
back.
is the day for agreement on the approach.
Yeah, so keep
versus-
having your discussion, Chair, and I'll look back.
Does anyone have any other discussion on that question?
So read to me, Philip, what the theme is.
It says it's all about
Serving
serving people.
but is it clarified to raise the chair's issue about, is it all about how we being the county serve people?
That was the spirit of the
Okay,
theme,
that's
yeah.
the spirit.
Because
Sort
it's
of
the state
implied.
of the county government.
I'm
Yes.
just asking for,
Nothing has changed in that regard. This is about the county government.
I need somebody offline to just tell me what the road to timber is, but we don't need to do that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a story there.
Your project, there's
Yeah.
a story there.
It probably won't make the cut,
Oh, okay.
unless some other district commissioner wants to take on the Timber Road project.
Well, I will.
But,
I'm happy to.
well, I guess my question was, there's nothing in here about public safety.
Oh, wait. Harkins House, that's juvenile.
Well, I'll tell you where I'm going with that is, at the Banks City Council meeting, last week was a great presentation by our sheriff's office. Not only about the public safety levy, but about just the services that
Yeah.
they've been providing. They had some video of some drone activities chasing the bad guys, and it was just really appealing, I think. And so I was just wondering how we could incorporate a little bit of something like that in here.
If I could build on that, Commissioner Treese mentioned that when she and Commissioner Snyder were at the Wallaton City Council, there was an opportunity, or there remains an opportunity, to remind the community how the county government provides county-wide public safety, whether it's highlighting the jail, community corrections, juvenile justice.
SWAT teams.
Yeah,
All the things the sheriff's office actually has a lot of specialized stuff that is
but
not.
we also, don't forget, we also fund the district attorneys.
Right.
So I think you're noted, there is an opportunity there. It's awfully big.
It is big, and that's what I was thinking, hard to condense that down into 2 minutes. 'Cause I
Well,
think-
but maybe you talk about what it is that all the components of public safety are. Because I think a lot of people don't really even
think you're exactly right.
know
They
what
forget
those
about juvenile corrections and they forget
I'm
about.
not sure I even knew them all when I was mayor.
Well, I can agree with that.
That's right. You weren't mayor when we had the white paper.
Um, I'm so glad I could lead on this conversation and you all impact what the others are more now. I'm in agreement. None of this I was not in any disagreement about what's listed. So what you have, including, I don't disagree. So including, it's all about serving the people, right? That's what the theme is. So I'm going back to what I articulated originally. I'll let you know my list or what I think, and then I'll lean in on your subject matter experts. And I will never disregard if you say no, none of this would work, Nafisa. I will lean to you to take that advice, but I will send my list to you. And I'm glad that we had this discussion to unpack what's in the others, including the public safety levy, which certainly will be on the ballot the next following month as well. So yeah, that's it. So if we're looking for a fifth thumbs up for the themes or anything listed here, I'm all thumbs up.
Thank you. Commissioner Snyder, I want to recognize your contribution in your apology. I just want to note that what's still hanging out there is the claim that this list was tone deaf. And I think you should consider apologizing, at least to our staff, in saying that, in that characterization, because that is very adverse. Whether you do that offline or on the record, your statement is on the record, and that's why I suggest that you address it.
Chair Hendon, I appreciate you expressing that sentiment in those words, saying those words.
I was summarizing your words.
I have nothing to apologize because the theme is all about serving the people. I was not criticizing you all, right? I appreciate the county staff. I was once a county staff myself. I understand the role. So you did a phenomenal job, extraordinary. We rely on you all every day to do what the people in our districts or countywide elected us to do. I don't think any voter is out there thinking that we're going to do all the accomplishment, we get to take credit. I don't think any voter does not know that there are tons of staff who are doing this work. So I think it's pretty clear that the county is run on good employees, and we all appreciate you all. So what I said about tone deaf is my own interpretation of what the theme was and the list that was listed. And that the conversation was to my colleagues, not to you all. This is a board discussion and a reaction in response to what I read. So, so don't be pivoted to be like, this is Nafisa versus the staff. This is not. This is a conversation among board. And I might have been looking, I don't know who I was looking, making eye contact, but that comment was to the board. And to say this seems, and I think if anybody watches this conversation, how it unfolded, I think everybody it will be pretty clear to see that, yeah, there are some things that are missing that are really appropriate to the current time and what's happening in the community and what's unfolding in the community. So I think it was just what I think was missing, but you all do a great job and I appreciate you all. staff. So none of my comments is ever a comment to the staff. It's always about the system and how we make the system better together. So.
Chair and board, for your board to continue this conversation, I think staff have presented this information. So I think
Yeah,
staff, why don't you can leave the table, and if there's further questions on this, I can answer on behalf.
Thank you, Tanya. I wish we'd done that in the beginning before I started to speak. Maybe we'll move forward when I thank you.
Board members, do you have anything else you'd like to discuss on the state of the county? All right, well, I suggest we finish up topic 3 and then take our break before we go into topic 4. So topic 3 is here simply because we put a stake in the ground that after adopting the fiscal year 26 budget, given that it offers a change in service level to our community, that we might want to double back in a summary of that through a board town hall. But we've certainly, since we had that idea in the spring, like March and April, we've had other external forces come in. So I'm not certain of, well, clarity for our community is always good. I'm not certain if having a board town hall is necessarily a great approach versus continuing to use all of our community channels and even our state of the county about what our current service level is. But nonetheless, this is a board decision to be made. And so I, as presiding officer, have continued to do my due diligence and bring this topic forward. So what are your thoughts?
So your thought or recommendation is to maybe not proceed with the original plan, given what's changed.
Yep.
I think town halls are good communication sources, but it also requires a lot of staff time. And I'm just remembering back on a few of our previous ones where really the attendance wasn't, from my standpoint, significant enough to utilize that staff time. So I would lean more towards not having the town halls unless we have something specific and significant enough to communicate that we need to take that venue to do that. Otherwise, I would say no.
Anyone else?
I'm okay with the recommendation.
I am too.
And I agree with Commissioner Willie's rationale, I should say.
Miss Angie?
May I say one other thing though?
Of course.
While I say that, I think that we need to be, and I believe strongly that all of us have this commitment, that if there's something that we need to react to, saying no to town halls now, wouldn't
We may need one in a month.
exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly right.
Things can change.
Well, this
right.
is just the specific budget town. hall.
Okay, yes,
Sorry.
I
That was
support
my
it.
caveat,
Yeah.
unless something comes up.
Okay,
We had nothing else that we had
I just
scoped
wanted to
out.
make sure I understood that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, I think we're done on topic 3. So at this point, we will take a break for 15 minutes and reconvene at 10:45.
Right on.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Back to you, Chair Harrington.
You got there.
Oh, I got a cookie, but I'm not gonna crinkle the paper till later.
No, I had to get rid of all the crinkles.
Okay, we are back from our break and online. So, this topic now is reflections on the county fiscal year 26 proposed budget process. As the Board of Commissioners went through it in setting direction, providing direction to our county administrator through our guiding principles and priorities, as well as the examination of information, as we've highlighted this morning with the community service level assessment information. Usually this time of year, after we were in the first quarter or two of the current budget, we step back and ask ourselves, so how did that process work for us? And that is the purpose of this conversation now. As you can see, there's no specific set of questions. There's just the general framework of what worked for us, what didn't work for us, or what might we like to do differently the next time. So that's my setup, but at this juncture, the two major players in all of this are Ms. Angie as our county administrator and budget officer, and John Steyer, our chief financial officer.
Yeah, so sure, you teed it up nicely. This is really just a reflection time, and the reflection time in August is helpful for staff as we start to tee up the budget process already for next year. So your roundtables will, just as we walked through this last year, we'll have a focus on financial matters through this fall into winter. And we are actually expecting, and the chair and I previously talked with roundtables into next year, because as a reminder, we are going through our ERP transition. And so we are in, I will call it a status quo setup right now, because we are testing the new system at the same time. We are doing day-to-day work in the current system. So we cannot make system modifications going into this next budget cycle. So I just want to tee that up.
We have what we have.
We have what we have right now.
With the new ERP system, you mean? Or does the old continue? That's where.
Yeah, okay, so December is our go live.
Yeah.
You, the board, and more information will be coming to you in the future. The board will need to adopt in January a supplemental budget that is produced from the new system. It is a mirror of this year's adopted budget, but we're transitioning from system to a new system. There's changes to the chart of accounts. We'll walk through this in more detail at a future roundtable, but I just want to put that out there. Then, so the fiscal year 26-27 budget will be produced out of the new system. And it may be, just one second, Commissioner Tree, it may be a bit bumpy in producing a new budget, because this will be the first time we produce it in a new system. So I am fully expecting there's going to be hiccups along the way. We are trying to minimize what those hiccups may be, and we'll come to your board and let you know what we discover, but we're going to be, in essence, operating a new vehicle.
So is the mirror budget the budget that was approved in June? It's not, doesn't include any supplemental issues or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay, so it's the status at the beginning, very beginning of the fiscal year. And any changes that we make will go into the ERP version of the budget moving forward, correct?
It'll be the most current with supplementals that are approved.
Okay,
It'll
great.
have the September supplemental.
Supplementals.
Right, that's what that's what I'm asking.
Got it. Yep. Okay.
And so we'll just open it up for your reflections. What went well? What were um, maybe challenges? What would you like to explore for opportunities in the future?
Can I first ask a clarifying question back on the ERP? Um, I appreciate the explanation. The dots just connected for me. Thank you. What I have gone through finance and budget system changes as an elected official, but not here at Washington County and Washington County's budget. So I think I would benefit from the first couple of things that you think rise to our view that are examples of bumpy
Mhm.
would help me understand what bumpy might mean. Because it's one of those things where we won't know it until we see it.
Right.
But I don't know that my initial thinking on that will be, oh, that's just an example of bumpiness versus I don't understand something or there's a mistake or something altogether different. So there you go.
An example of bumpy might be, we have the first 6 months of data in the old system, and we're moving it to the new system, and there's a transition between those two.
Got it.
So when we're trying to show the full year, it may be bumpy in getting the data lined up to the detail that we need to have it.
And don't you have to, how do you do all the prior year comparisons?
Right.
Do you have to migrate that
We're
data
migrating
too
10 years of data into the old system.
from the old system
old
into the new?
Yeah. Well, that's the
years.
bumpy piece too. So how granular do we get that?
Got
We
it.
may have to go back in the old system to get more details, but the newer system will have the information only to a certain level.
Okay.
The bumpy doesn't mean crashing.
No,
Numbers that don't
Right.
reflect, like
Yeah.
they don't fully make sense. They're, opposite direction of what they really should be. I mean, I've seen this happen
Yeah.
before.
I've been through this too. That's
yeah, that's why checking it twice and more makes sure we get it right.
I'll give, if it's okay,
Yeah, of course.
I'll give my, some of this, actually a lot of this, I think I stated at the conclusion of the budget sessions, which was really complimentary about both the style of presentation of the information, the robustness of it, and also really the well-documented sort of change in reductions in FTEs and what was happening where both if something was added, there was very little of that, but also when changes were made that reduced things. It was by far the most, I've been through a lot of budgets because I came up through a budget committee. That's how I became a city councilor. So I've been doing this almost 20 years, and it was the most well done and robust ability for me to follow and track what was happening. And I think I stated most of that during the conclusion as I thanked staff. That is still what I would say. Now, even reflecting back, I think it made my transition onto the commission much easier as well, trying to track. I mean, it's a very long budget and a very complex organization. And that just went much more smoothly than I would have expected for me because of a lot of that.
Yeah, I think about your 20 years of experience in budget, and I really appreciate that perspective. And I can add, just with the being the seventh budget that I've gone through here, I think about where we started in the beginning, and I was so far underwater, I couldn't understand much of what went on, to the point where it was, I'm certain that it's, we all build year on year with experience, but the way that the material was presented was so clear, so crisp, and it tied to what I see. And that was for me just a really, really big piece. Did I like making the decisions we had to make? No, none of us did. But I really appreciated the perspective that the staff provided us in making those decisions and understanding what our trade-offs were, where we were, why we were doing it, what our opportunities for potential recovery from those decisions was really important to me. So my hats off to you and Tanya, but also to the staff that provided the color of the color commentary, if you will, about what the impacts were and how we could look at the different decisions. So I can't think of anything that I would do to improve. One of the biggest things that we've talked about over the years is, oh, the process took too long, or we had gaps, or we had to sit around, and all these things that frankly didn't happen at all. It was very smooth in delivery and in presentation style and content.
The only sort of upgrade I guess I would offer, a thing to consider is this is hard, but I'll just say this. I think the process to offer a budget amendment is not a very welcoming process. And I think that we're both commissioners and budget committee members who attempted to navigate that process, and I'm not sure I have like a how to make it better idea right off the top, and maybe that's not my role, but I don't think that felt very inviting.
I guess I'd like to hear more about that, Jason. I actually thought it was the other way around. I've never made a budget amendment before this year, and was obviously late in doing so. But at least what I liked about it was you had to show where you wanted to send the money and where you wanted to take the money from. So it was a debit and a credit mentality, and I like that part. I thought it was fairly clear, but I'd be interested to know from your standpoint what was.
And I understand that, and I think that makes sense for someone who's not a CPA. That's a lot less inviting.
Okay, that's fair.
I would say, if you have something that I think we all recognize there's a practical aspect to the fact that if we're spending money in one area that we weren't planning, that it has to come from somewhere else. But complete the form. What if people did what was suggested verbally, which was consult with the, county leadership team, try to work through how to make that happen. I think that all probably could have happened smoothly. I'm just reflecting on how I think it felt and looked for some members of the budget committee.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Can I use
jump
that
in.
as an example?
Mhm.
Because I think I know this was the first year you provided budget amendments, and I believe you did go over it with county staff because you had to identify
I
where
worked
it would
with
come
Tanya
out of, right?
to come and bring.
I know I've done it previously, and I did just what you understood the process was. Ms. Angie had articulated it is, if you have ideas, please come and work with her. It's not her job to figure out where the money would come from to cover those ads. That's on the proposer, but she can help us if we're having trouble identifying those needs. So in terms of that process not feeling very welcoming, could you help me understand what qualities a welcoming process would include?
Probably need to think more on that, and maybe even ask a couple others to provide input. And no one asked. I mean, I'll just be clear. No one called me up and said, "Hey, I think you should make this comment." I just, as I'm reflecting on it, that was a point that felt a little more friction to me, and a little bit of frustration.
Do you think that
some members' parts?
If we dig into it more, do you think that was because over the sequence of budget years, from my standpoint, this was even harder than prior ones?
I think that's part of it.
I mean, we were cutting the bone.
But I think there's another piece here, and I may be forgetting, but I believe that that was the first time we've had an amendment from a budget committee member that wasn't an elected.
Oh, so I don't have that context.
Yeah, see, I think that, I believe that that's correct.
So
So, and what it brings up for me is as we go through the day or the time that we do some training, we talk about amendments, but maybe there needs to be a little bit more discussion. And
The process.
yeah, and I would talk with the budget committee member that put it forward and ask what advice we might get from her as well.
So I can just share from my observation, and John, our ELT had this discussion too, and so we do have some ideas on how to make the process a bit more clear to the individual. You as a commission are really living the budget, exploring but year round now and
Right.
learning it. You have a far deeper understanding of our funds, restrictions on funding sources than community members have who come into this process. So to maybe echo the point you bring up, it can be very frustrating for all of us on restrictions on how you can use certain governmental funds. And so we saw that in some of the community member feedback, like wanting to reinstate something and use this funding source. And we're like, that's not possible. So it feels like there's multiple kind of barriers to get that forward, which you all are living in it more frequently than our lay members of the budget committee. So that does get frustrating.
I think the other part to it might be an element of, the budget's a tool to get to accomplish work, right? And I think it might be helpful, particularly for the members that are not part of the commission, to have maybe have an opportunity to talk more about what they're trying to accomplish, not just fiscally, but what they're trying to accomplish and then the financial part of it is the mechanism to do that. But maybe some more consultation on that part too might be helpful, because you all may be able to say, hey, maybe there is a way to accomplish that, but it may not be exactly how they were proposing the debit and credit form as they submitted it.
But we could also improve the form so that there is a paragraph requested about that. So it starts the conversation. Because I think process-wise, we helped ensure that there was we added years ago a place, and we've continued it, a place for budget amendments and having discussion on those before the public hearing, before the budget committee for approval. So whether that happens the same day or different day, because we've sequenced prior years on different dates.
I'm also reflecting on, yes, it was the first time that we've seen budget committee members, but what they were, if I'm remembering correctly, what they were reacting to were significant pain points in the budget.
Absolutely.
And they were trying to help solve the problem from their perspective. And I believe that 2 of our budget committee members intended to put forward amendments and then realized that that the options for getting money from different sources weren't available. So, but while I understand the awkwardness of the process, the reality is, for me, we had budget members, committee members that were so engaged that they actually moved forward with thoughts about trying to change that. And for that, I think that that's a real growth opportunity for the budget committee. And I also think that the staff should be commended for bringing forward the issues in a way that people could think about them.
Mhm.
So while I understand improving the process, I think the process made a big leap this last year. And it may not have been for all the reasons we would hope for, but
I think it's
So-
just because I'm new to the commission.
yeah. Well, the awareness of where we were before might be.
Whatever we can do to help you.
We're here for you. So I've noted here many different things that worked really well and are very positive. I have heard at least one idea for, well, two ideas for the training that we go through as a full budget committee to spend a little bit more time on amendments and then helping the form and the process so that there's more information as well as time for discussion about for the amendment proposer, no matter who it is, what are they trying to accomplish? There was another observation, Commissioner Snyder, that you mentioned that it was well documented. It was a very clear proposed budget, but you observed, it's a large budget and it's a complex organization.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if we might explore that a little bit more. And this is where, coming into today's meeting, I used it turns out, a two-step process. First, I was asking myself the hard question of where did we say no? What did we say no to, and how do I internalize that? Which is why I went right to the budget reduction summary and the FTE cuts. Maybe wasn't the best exercise for me, because the second thing I did was I went back and reread the budget summary document. And I would say it's the best one I've ever read because it so crisply, but in very human terms, lays out our reality, but also our public service passion. And I say I mean one Washington County. So I just want to make sure to compliment that, but it also has my eyes very wide open. And I just don't know. I don't have any new ideas for how to ensure our lay community members as well as our community at large have the means to understand the complex range of services, how large the budget is in using resources, so it is more approachable. I'm fresh out of ideas.
Well, it's hard to dumb down a $1.6 billion budget with as many special funds as we have as well. And because I can tell you, most of the questions I get are, if you had to reduce it by $20 million, you got a $1.6 billion. I mean, big deal. You go, no, you're not understanding what that picture is. And so I don't know how we could communicate the specifics of our budget any more clearly, but without creating a lot of work. But to really get it down to a succinct message of all of the pieces of this budget might.
I think it's a continue. I mean, for all of us as elected leaders and the leadership team, that's going to be an evergreen, continuous. I mean, both members of the community in particular, that's just a level of detail and understanding around public agency financing that is just not well understood. And
It's not every day.
and it's just a continuous point of education, I think, unfortunately.
Towards that end, I very consciously in 2024 reinstituted my quarterly town halls and through 2025. And I very explicitly had a county budget 101. What is the structure? You know, I started with what are county services, right? And then I've gone through budget. I had another one that focused on our property tax bills. And there were community members. There were also elected officials from cities and school districts who hadn't had the opportunity to just have a comfortable, intimate space to go over that information. And I think it's something I want to try again.
And to that end, and to the end that you were speaking about, Commissioner Snyder, is I want to reflect just a moment on how we did with the mayor's group, that because I think I'm thinking about over the course of the year prior to this last year, and then moving forward. I think it got better, but I'm also thinking about what things can we continue to improve on. And you know, again, say it again, Monday night, the issue of the county budget as a whole came up. Wasn't from Mayor Buenick, it was from a council member, but it was, you know, there's still concern. There's another person on the council that didn't appear to understand how property taxes work. And so, you know, the broad range of knowledge level is interesting. And I'm thinking about what CWS is doing with essentials. I wonder if there's an equivalent for the budget process for us.
Well, I was thinking about that last night because one reason why we went through CWS Essentials this year, earlier in 2025, was recognizing that we had a number of new mayors and a number of new city councilors, which is one reason why I used this town hall approach that I mentioned. But I also, on my drive home last night, I was thinking about what you said about the city councilors at our Tuesday board communication, and reflecting on what I have been exposed to from mayors and city councilors about what training, if at all, new city councilors get, whether it's from a PSU educational series or League of Oregon Cities. And I'm beginning to wonder if it might be beneficial for us through our own devices, pulling together city councils and mayors, school board members, just an open invitation to public budgeting or public finance, public budgeting and public finance, because you're right, there's general property taxes, there's local option levies, then certain cities have fees. Special districts are different than cities and county. So not focusing it on Washington County 101 necessarily. But
What
I
AOC
see how
and
Washington,
League of Oregon Cities did together.
yeah. But I can also see how having just a county 101 on what our county service is and where does the money come from to do these, to fund these things. Wow, a lot to ponder.
I think we also have to look forward and realize that we're going to have new commissioners on, and what's our process in bringing them up to speed. I mean, Jason, you come in, and I learned from you because you've had a real depth of experience around budget, but that won't always be the case moving forward. And I don't think, we certainly didn't. I know I didn't.
That was collectively.
Well, I think the one of the changes that we've seen from when we first started to now was this year, the presentation of the information was much better. And I liked it because I could see a trend in there. And so I thought that was one of the best things we did. I thought it was much more readable. Maybe there's some ways we could even improve on that, but it still felt pretty good. So that transition was good.
So if I could drill down a little bit there, because the presentations have gotten better and better every year. And I want to come back to that. On the more readable, this year we really asked for more descriptive information about the service level, what the county actually provides, and to use that more descriptive space in the budget document. And I think they did it very well. I think that helped make it more readable. That was my observation.
Yeah, me too.
Did that help the staff too? I'm curious. Like, did it help you all to have to be more clear and articulate in that communication then with your teams, or was that really just extra, like not extra work, but work that benefited us? Like,
And the community.
yeah, but did it help internally too?
And maybe across lines.
Yes, I think internally what we're fine tuning to is what we're asking of departments when departments present their budget to executive leadership team, so that we're not having to duplicate effort. So we're becoming clear on some of the ask of departments so that we're as efficient as possible. I think budget is a lot of work, especially at the county administrative office level, because it really is up to the ACAs put a lot of time in reviewing all the materials from their departments, the PowerPoints. But I think last year was better. Internally, we had it tuned in a bit. This coming year, it's going to be another interesting kind of feat because we'll have a new system. So that's where I'm saying, please, like, no more ask on the budget for this project, because we will get through it. We just don't know what bumpy may be. Yeah.
I think a suggestion here is add to the guiding principles a recognition that we've moved to a brand new tool set.
We need to be flexible and adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to also call out Brenda because of her work. I mean, I always knew who I could go to if I had a question or a process, and it really, and I'm very sincere about this, I knew I had a resource instead of not understanding where to go. So I appreciate it, and I also want to commend you for your wealth of knowledge about the entire budget and as well as the process. So Tanya, in terms of assigning, you did a great job in helping us with superior staff. So thank you.
Yeah. By the way, this is Brenda's least favorite moment, being recognized for publicly.
But I think I'm recognizing Brenda, but I'm also recognizing the fact that it's incredibly important to have that role.
Yes.
And to have it staffed at a very high level. So I appreciate it. Does that help a little?
Well, I'll chime in to take the distraction from you. Spotlight. I really enjoyed this year's budget process. This was my 5th year, and yes, it's always been challenging to go through, especially the first year we did it on Zoom, but transitioning from that to in person, and then the year before having quorum challenges. This year we didn't have that. you did a phenomenal job of identifying community members that really did have capacity in terms of their participations. And I felt like as a commissioner, even members that were going to be online, that I was in tune with that information and I was on the journey of that process. So I really have nothing bad to say about this year's budget process. It was really good, good information, good discussions, timely published questionnaires and answers. And I really thought the amendment process, especially the community member, the time and efforts that they put in, I really thought it was a good best practice, and that I actually modeled my amendment that I presented on the dais. So it, all in all, it's a good budget process, and congratulations on your first budget process at the county, having that under your belt, John. There's no delta, but I was wondering, I really like our guiding principles for the budget. I always lean on that. Priorities do change because we get into some budget deficits, and Tanya has to make that hard decision and really present to us a proposed budget. But I appreciate our guiding principles. And one of the things that I was reflecting over the weekend is, and I think the chair did a really good job of touching on, it's how do we, for the sake of the community that may or may not have time to go back and do in-depth research like the chair articulated earlier in terms of going to the summary, the budget summary, and rereading that material to try to tease out what was eliminated, how did we solve this problem, what hard decisions we made. I was reflecting, this is maybe an aspirational down the road, but could we have a one-pager that sort of articulates the guiding principles, which ones were addressed in a more, like, how did we, because I think we all did a good job of meeting staying within the guiding principles, but there were hard decisions that you had to take and help us bring the whole board along. So I think it will be ideal in the future to sort of have a reflection presentation, sort of, to say, here was the guiding principles. Here, I appreciate this discussion, but I think it would be really good to have like a presentation to sort of says, this is how the budget went. And that sort of closes this fiscal year budget. And it's a bit more participatory for the community to then loop back and then say, okay, these were the guiding principles. These were the things that were pivoted to somewhere else. For example, a continued commitment to equity was one of the principal guiding principles. I'm not sure I'm verbatim articulating the way it was. How did we meet that? The first bullet point of the guiding principle around boards and government. So how did we, may not have been, support board goals and governance was the first one. So how did we, I'm just trying to figure out how do we bring along the community members that were on this journey with us to say, here's a closure of that budget year cycle.
So it would be additional work. So I'm asking not for this year. Some communities do produce what's called a budget brief that is like a 1 to 2 pager that provides a high level summary of the budget. That is, I would call it a best practice to do. That could be something that we lean into. The one aspect I'll highlight, we intentionally in the budget summary included decisions that were made and tied them to the the budget priorities and principles for the reason that you're lifting up Commissioner Fye. And so the other, tool, just as you all are talking to community, is just maybe, giving that summary that gives the high level. That could be something that you could do now. And we could even put that in a PDF and send that to you all. So it's a easy distribute it with your with community members that you're meeting with right now. So that could be a short term.
No, that's exactly the solution out there to, and I have shared, and I appreciate you entertaining the idea to provide the community a bit more condensed, sort of shorter version, 1 to 2 page. So thank you.
And
And now it's,
yeah, we're just going to take the
Mhm.
PDF of the budget document, send it out to you. You can do.
No, I have it.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
need it.
Okay.
We already have the means to
Yeah.
do that through our print to Adobe PDF.
Yeah.
So,
Accessible.
but if you want to do it, great, and have it on our website, perfect, because I think it's a lighter weight.
Yeah, it's an easier.
Yeah. But also, I appreciated your calling out that that having a summary budget in brief is a best practice, but for the agency to do that, that's more work. That at this, in my paraphrasing, we don't have the bandwidth to take on.
No.
So it's below the ZBB line.
What's the timing of that typically done? Is that like in the July, like for our cycle, would it be in like July, August?
It would be July, August after the budget is.
I just want to
adopted.
understand. I'm not suggesting we do it. I just
Yep.
want to.
Question from me, will there be a PAFR? Is there a PAFR?
Yes, we have the last year's of 2024, fiscal year 24 is published. Currently doing the audit now for this fiscal year 25 that just closed on 30 June. And so there will be a PAFR for that as well. And that's a great document for our community to see what, in layman's terms, what our finances are doing.
What quarter? So it sounds like it's
Right.
on your plan of record.
Right.
So what I need is the reminder of what I think in quarters, what quarter, or are you hoping to have that done?
Yeah, so it closed 30 June. And last year, you recall, it took us a long time to finalize.
Yep.
So we're hoping to have it completed by the end of December. So it'll publish first quarter of next year at the latest. That would be our goal.
Q1 calendar year 26.
Sooner.
Great.
So I just want to highlight both John Steyer's leadership and also Sarah Keene, who's the deputy. I'm making sure I'm said her last.
Deputy
Okay,
communication.
yeah, the deputy CFO, for really taking our this last audit very seriously, and they have kicked off the audit and with the goal of getting it completed by the end of this year, which will be the first time that will have occurred since I've started with the county. So I just really appreciate both of their leadership.
Is this can I ask you a question to follow up on that, Tanya? Is that an audit that the elected auditor is conducting, or is this?
So our elected auditor per charter is a performance auditor,
Financial?
not financial auditor.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, and this is
External auditor.
Yep.
external auditor.
We have external financial auditors. Yeah.
Which is a typical local government practice.
Mhm. And then the audit committee then reviews that, and then it comes to this board. Correct. Follow.
Back to the chair's point, the PAFR would be available in like the first quarter, second quarter. It'd be October after you
First.
complete the
Right.
audit, correct?
Yes.
A quarter or two.
I would think, I mean, once the audit's complete, the documents is pretty much finalized. It's just a matter of signing off in December and then presenting to the budget committee or the audit committee.
If I might, there's an opportunity there where it would be helpful to have the the next, is it still called a CAFR? ACFR. For,
I was doing
I
the
blew
same
it.
thing,
I
making sure.
blew it. It's an ACFR.
Right.
Um, if the next ACFR could be reviewed at a work session, and that there would be a very simplified calendar of here's the fiscal year. We understand how the proposed budget is put together. Then it becomes the adopted budget. But I'm used to the process where in the first half of a fiscal year, a new fiscal year, right, the close of the now old fiscal year, it takes time for those books to be closed. And then you engage the audit committee, but the external financial auditor, and they do testing. They do subset testing and go through the different component units. And then the ACFR is produced and reviewed at the audit committee. That cycle would be really, I think, helpful for us to see listed out and utilized on our website too, because you do have improved financial processes, and we are fortunate to have so many public finance experts on board.
I think as we get caught up in a more timely manner, it'll make more sense. I think if we were trying to do that a couple of years ago, it would have been maddening, frankly.
It was.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about the bumps along the road for ERP. What's going to be interesting to me is to talk to you and to your staff about where the ERP has created efficiencies. So I think, you know, I'm going to be interested in looking at the benefits of the ERP, as well as it'll be easy to identify the bumps. But I'm hoping, and I've heard from you and from Tanya, that we will see such improvements due to the investment in resources and time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears and everything else that goes into this type of change. I think it would be beneficial to us and to the community to point out where we did see our improvements as well.
We probably shouldn't expect that in the first 6 months.
Well, no,
I'm not saying that, but you know, I think about even the communication between the two tools that you've used in the past, and you know, the fact that the books, there was so much problem with getting the books out and all those things. I'm anticipating that type of thing won't happen as much. There'll be glitches, and maybe we're just trading glitches, but
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I didn't realize until last year that there were two different software packages involved. All I knew is we got big honking PDF book to read, and you know, it wasn't just one book, right? There's the budget detail and so forth.
Maybe a bit of clarification. There's 3. So currently it's Oracle to Questica to Caseware. We will be moving to Workday to Questica.
and don't those two communicate much more effectively?
That is the ideal hope as we work through this. There's no
It's our assumption, but now it
I
will be
understand.
implementation.
I yes, been there. So
yeah, the challenge with printing the book is the caseware software and lining it up so the data comes out of our system and fits into the right pages. And so that's been a learning curve for Christine, who's worked that diligently.
So I'm going to
There's
say
no
it a different
complaints here,
way
by the way.
because, and I will recognize Christine Thornhill because she worked tirelessly on this, because we wanted to, and modernize the budget, be responsive to what the board had asked. Not this year, but the year before, what we did is we broke the system because Caseware is a software that you build it and you don't touch it. And we made too many changes and we, in essence, broke the system. And so it was a learning for all of us of that limitation on an outdated software. And just appreciate Christine continuing with Washington County and sticking with us and going through another challenging transition right now with Questica.
So with the ERP program, you utilized a consultant, Barry Dunn, I can't remember the name, and worked a lot with the Workday experts. I have assumed, and this is why I'm bringing the question up now, that our integration consultants, or if I can
Cognizant.
call them that,
Mhm.
Cognizant, thank you, have been able to assure us that the Questica tool works well or not with Workday, and if it doesn't, what, to look out for. Is that
So-
something you have available to you, or are you venturing into the
I
unknown?
think it works. It's a matter of just getting the data modeling correct. And So
Okay.
we've been working through that and also making sure our chart of accounts is lined up. So at some point in the testing, we had to say, this is the chart of accounts that we're working with.
Got it.
And when you make a change in the testing cycle, you have to go back and make changes in
Yeah.
all the data. So that's one of the challenges we have.
Okay.
But as far as the data working with Workday, well, I have confidence in that.
We went through that exploratory a year ago
Yeah.
to make sure that they can, in software, you use the phrase talk to each other.
Right.
The system
Right.
talk to each other, or integrate.
So, colleagues, I want to propose another question for us to ponder in this discussion. As noted, we each have different levels of experience. Commissioner Fye, you mentioned your first year as a board member. The budget process was online. That was actually the second online budget process for a few of us. But we have another new experience for at least two of us. Commissioner Willie and I have chosen to not run for reelection. So the proposed FY27 budget will be our last one as commissioners. So now is a good time to have put before you, as well as Ms. Angie, the question, not necessarily to answer today, but what do you want us to do differently? This will be proposed fiscal year 27 will be your second county budget, your sixth, my eighth and last. And I know the three of us went through quite a process to open up the visibility. Yes, open up the vault. That is a great way to put it. And it's noticed, it's been referred to now, how it is much more approachable, clear, all of that. But I haven't thought yet about that. It'll be my last one. And is there anything that says, other than I'll be hugely relieved going into retirement?
So you're asking if we, like, as a
Well, for me, it's the last
Yeah,
one. For you, it'll be your second one. And is there anything about our overall process? I mean, you came in, you've hit the ground running as a colleague for us, but now is your time to say, okay, well, I embraced the model that you all were proposing, and beyond what you've already contributed, is there anything else process-wise that we should consider as a board and with Ms. Angie before and we are coming back to this with our September and October roundtable, so that's not a problem, but think about it.
I think the continued fight about financially covered mandates is probably one of the largest things that the county's going to face moving forward.
Yeah, that's like 30 elephants.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think the attention that we all pay to that is important. But if for you two, you have an open political role maybe
Mhm.
to do things that if others staying on may not have the same options.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of how I've thought about that. In working with our interim county council, I have voiced that with what we see ahead, we have to stop delivering some mandated services, some required services. And, the state may not like it, but they have a couple options. One, they can fund it exactly, or change the requirements, or tell me to go pound sand.
And what I was saying is that the ongoing commission is going to need to be able to maintain those relationships at
Yep.
at the legislature. That's
Yes,
that
I totally agree.
that's what I'm
Yep.
saying.
Yep, and that's where I want to make sure that we don't create scorched earth or burn bridges or anything like that, because we continue to be partners with our state legislator and our state elected officials. I think we've done a pretty good job of communicating with our state legislators. The position, not that there may be room for improvement. What our situation is, we've been much clearer about what we need from them. And hats off to our GR team for putting that into practice.
And I would suggest, and with all due respect to not creating more work, I mean, I really, that's in my mind all the time. But I think our safety and justice report, that was such a powerful tool, an update to that in terms of what we're facing in our current budget situation. And especially when you look at what's just happened this year with the community corrections and the cut to funding there. I think the framework is there for continued communication with the legislature, but it would be helpful to say version 2 here. It's not getting better. So that's, I recognize that's more work, but I'm trying to say use what we've got foundationally because it was a good tool. And then the degree to which we can reemphasize what our needs are
So
and what the impacts have been.
being the sort of brass tacks action, taking strategy, putting it into action, what you're saying has me thinking, well, we can use the same tactics, techniques, but the message will evolve because the
be updated.
reality. Yeah, exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
Yep. I see that.
Your garage door is down.
I'm actually not prepared to respond because I would need to work with staff on determining
Sure.
what the option,
Oh, yeah.
of an update would be and how that could look like, because there was a lot of staff time that went in one, and I'm just not prepared to respond to what it could be.
So I was thinking, what I was thinking of is we have GR engagements between sessions, right? So with this proposed budget, we've been pretty clear. We can't do X. And I already see GR communicating, we can't do X. And using us in our one-on-ones with various state legislators, being clear about that. But continuing with utilizing similar tactics or approach that we've used previously of before the next session, in this case, short session, here are the impacts of the state budget, and here's where we need help.
And I certainly, I have full respect for the magnitude of work that went into that report and the value of it. And what I'm thinking too is I don't want to see it go on the shelf and lose value because it didn't have updates along the way.
Here's a concrete example, I think, to drive this home of where, and maybe there's a balance between a full update and whatever, but like in some of my communications with legislators after the decisions were made around community corrections was to connect the link to the fact that they're, the people that they're paying to keep in prison who might have been eligible to come into the community that won't be able to, that's a cost they're still going to have. Like, this isn't actually saving money necessarily. It might actually be costing money. Like that kind, like being able to tell those stories is I think the kinds of things, but I don't know. I don't want to ask that. I mean, I don't want to drive a lot of work, but we got to be able to tell those stories.
Well, and we're focused on our budget. What's going to happen, I'm just going to use community corrections as an example. There will be changes to how the state funds community corrections over the next 2 years that could have impacts to us. So I think there's value in this. Let me just go back to the team and talk about how we do this, because some of the potential impacts and funding changes make me and Aaron and Nate pretty nervous. So I think if we are even forecasting what could be coming from the state, that also can help you all in your relationships with legislators and also our GR team. So let staff and I put some thought into the how on this.
I look forward to learning more because I would love to go from my current state of hair on fire to concerned. Or nervous, whatever your word was. I'm still in the negative part.
Just trying to keep everybody calm.
I'm trying to use calming words.
No, I know. That's it's awful. So
The question you asked, Chair, around what could be done differently in the next year. I had a question for you, Tanya. I know that one of the years we were on Zoom, I think by definition, we were doing a participatory budgeting process. And I think had a bit more robust avenue or pathways for community or like a public testimony. And I think we created, I don't remember what year it was. I remember being online and I think it took a long time, but there was a extra special public safety, not public safety, but public engagement within the budget process. And I was wondering, I think we all agreed that this last cycle budget process worked for everyone. And I think I've gotten exemplary comments and kudos. I'm wondering, are we actually by definition doing participatory budgeting process, or what does that look like if we were to try next year, or what would change? And
a lot. So I'm actually not aware of any jurisdiction that does holistic participatory budget.
You define participatory budget. I think that's important for people who might be listening in.
Yeah. So I'd like to be able to pull up the actual definition. So I'm going to give you the high level definition. It is, because there's various aspects. It is when you, and I'm going to use not as a whole budget, because I actually truly do not know of any jurisdiction that does participatory budgeting for their whole budget. There are jurisdictions that, for example, have community granting process that they use participatory budgeting in to, in essence, put the decision making in the community's hands using the IAP2 spectrum, which is community engagement spectrum. You, in essence, empower the community to make the decisions. It could be by they submit rankings, they submit comments, but it's putting that decision making within the community. For local governments, and the reason, and I'm truly not aware of anyone that does it as a whole, is because there's restrictions on funds, there's mandates that we have to follow, and so it's not possible in some ways to allow that type of decision making with the restrictions that we have. But that is one example of where participatory is used.
And even worse, to build on that, we've had to eliminate funding for various grants.
Yeah.
So, we had a grant program in our fiscal year 2020 budget, and we went through that as a commission then. But that was a one-off, and then since we've had to reduce community grant programs here in our various budgets. What I'm wondering if what you're observing is that in 2019, for our first, I can't remember if it was 2019, 2020, or 2021, we had our first ever instance of major community participation in the first budget hearing. We had 19 people. And we chose in the next proposed budget year to open up in each budget committee, having community input and community comment section in each of those budget committee meetings. And we've done that for 2 years running, at least. We had it again this year. So, but participation by the community has evolved year over year. And I think part of that was because of key societal issues and what we could consider doing as a result. For example, with the May of 2020, Memorial Day weekend of 2020, there was the George Floyd incident, murder. And prior to that, it built on multiple years of impact in our Black communities nationwide. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I've got the history context. So I advanced a budget amendment between the budget committee approval of the budget and the adopted budget. And that was still too compressed of a time. So the board approved the budget amendment, but caveated it to not expend those funds until we went through a public engagement process, specifically on body-worn cameras.
Oh, body-worn cameras.
And we did that. And, but that is the only specific instance. And that was 2020. Here we are now in 2025 with continued societal issues, but they don't necessarily all, a lot of them don't intersect with our community suite. You know, we've been hearing every single week in our business meetings since October about some members of our community highlighting their opinions that things should change state-wise and federally with regard to elections. But our response has continued to be, we comply with state and federal laws for elections. So, you know, best for you to go, if you want to make change, it's at the state legislature. But we still welcome their opportunity to exercise their constitutional freedom of speech. Um, uh, so towards our public participation, if I could come back to that as a theme, we continue to try different techniques. It's another reason why for the development of the proposed budget, we had multiple engagements. The board town hall about the context that we found ourselves in. This year we had a repeat of elected official engagement, which has already been mentioned. So that's, why don't we come back to the public engagement opportunities when I think it's in the September roundtable, we go over.
One of our roundtables will go through the budget. No, that's,
Yeah,
we'll go
I think
through the
that'd be
budget calendar, and that's when the board has a discussion about what board engagement opportunities you'd like to explore holding or doing. So, and it's changed every year.
I think this reminds me that at least one of our continuous board committee, budget committee members has asked to be on the budget journey. And so I think what it reminds me is, and I'll put it out there to decide how we want to approach this as a board versus just claiming the responsibility myself. We do have these supplemental budget opportunities coming up. And I think it's worth our highlighting that to our budget committee members. Not that they have to take time and watch it live as it's happening, but we always do this work in public. So at least they can be on that journey.
I think they should also be on the journey on the same vein. They should be on the journey around our budget principles, guiding principles, et cetera, so for next year too.
They certainly have visibility into it. And we've always published when we talk about that. And, we've, just like with any advisory folks, we're open to feedback.
Should we engage? I guess that'd be a consideration. Should we
I'll
engage?
tell you what my past response has been. That's why we're the elected commissioners.
That's good.
It's part of our job as board members,
Agreed.
which isn't a closed door at all. Rather, let us know what your thoughts are. But, at the end of the day, we're the decision makers. And that's taken a little while for some.
Yeah, I mean that's true in the budget aspect too. We approve the ultimate budget, and
But then 10%.
the decisions ultimately sort of reside with us. We may just want to think about whether there should be perhaps a little more engagement there. I guess a little more formal.
Well,
That's
that's
even
why-
reaching out for feedback, say this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And do you have thoughts? And so we could have that feedback loop,
Mhm.
not the decision, but the feedback loop.
Which reminds me of another thing that was an adjustment for this past budget year. We'd asked if the CFO could please touch bases with the prior budget committee members to see if they would be participating, so that we were reflecting. We've already reflected back appreciation for them, but don't take for granted. And it also helped with our knowing if we were going to have a lot of new members or not.
Right.
So.
That reminds me, Chair, to ask John or Tanya, are you going to ask, just like we're having this reflection moment, to sort of give you some feedback on the budgeting process? Are you going to loop back to those 5 members that participated with us? And
In fact, I did. I sent out a survey to our budget laypersons, trying to get some feedback on all the events, the materials. So I reached out to them. I also know we have some that their terms have ended, and ask them if they want to reapply, and so we're working through that. And then also to make sure we fill the empty seats.
Will we hear more about that in upcoming roundtables?
We will be coming back to you. We hear your input today, and then that gets rolled into subsequent roundtables. In addition to those budget committee members, we meet with the county leadership team, get their multiple kind of layers of feedback that John and his team collect. And so we'll close that loop at a future roundtable with you all.
Chair, I have a follow-up to John. John, you said a survey. I'm wondering if you have the opportunity to actually meet with them in person or like talk with them over the phone, not
certainly.
necessarily but some different way of actually qualitative information to pull that
Certainly,
rather
yeah.
than the survey. Survey
I
seems,
have both. I've email contact and can phone if needed.
Yeah.
Some have responded directly, and it just went out earlier this week. So working through that, and this is my first year working with the budget committee. So I do take it that we do need to have good engagement with them and make sure they feel valued. That was one of the comments I did get in the process, so that their voice is heard and they can, have a say and make it feel like it's worth their time to come here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anything else on budget? I don't have anything else to prime the pump on.
I think it would be
Very
nice if we
robust.
could have this conversation with Clean Water Services and Rick at the same time. Realizing your budget's not as complex, but it's still, there's lots of pieces in it, and I think I spent a lot of time on it this year more than normal, so I'd like to have this conversation at another date, budget process with.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, we have
I've
October.
been telling Elizabeth about we should be doing the same and taking good notes and making sure we get good feedback from our budget committee. So
Great minds.
to listen in on this and same change.
there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. What works, works.
Before we close this topic and adjourn for lunch, I put on the agenda community service level learning and future base set discussion. I think we've touched on that a bunch through our budget discussion. Can you recall, is there anything else we wanted to come back to? Because I'm wondering if we can just declare it done because we've referred to future stuff.
We did hear comments and encouragement. I think Commissioner Snyder was the first commissioner that brought it up, that it's useful. We can resend it, the service level assessment to you, just so you have it at the top of your inbox. This was just time, Chair. We had talked before. I think you had requested just an opportunity for some reflections after budget on this, but as you pointed out, we've already kind of touched on it. So.
Yeah, and I think we should put that under the laundry list, topic list, excuse me, under September 4th, under finance/budget. Because if you resend it, that'll give us a time to reflect back on it and figure out what might we need in order to get our heads around things, working with you on the context for the next proposed budget, or even the supplemental budgets. Yeah. Cool. So what that tells me is we are done with topic 5. So we will adjourn for our 1-hour lunch break and reconvene at 1:05 for our clean water services topics. Is that okay with everybody?
Works for me.
Okay. See you at 1:05.